A planet does not ask permission to exist. It does not question its orbit. It simply moves through space, pulled by forces it cannot see, bound by laws it did not choose. And yet, within that cosmic dance, each planet holds its own nature, its own rhythm, its own way of being in the vastness. Today, we invite you to choose a planet, not because you understand what it means, but because something in you recognizes what it is. Before you are 5 planets: Mars, Saturn, Jupiter, Venus, and Earth. Do not think about what you know of them. Do not recall what you learned in school. Do not choose based on beauty or familiarity. Instead, close your eyes for a moment. Breathe, and when you open them, notice which planet pulls at you, which one feels like gravity, which one calls to the part of you that exists beyond thought. Alan Watts once said that you are not a stranger in this universe. You are an expression of it. So choose the planet that reflects the universe inside you. Your choice is made. Now, let us see what it reveals about the orbit you have been following all along. If Mars called to you, you are made of fire that refuses to be extinguished. You do not wait for permission. You do not ask if it is safe. You see what needs to be done, and you move. Where others hesitate, you act. Where others debate, you decide. You understand that momentum is created by beginning, not by waiting for the perfect moment. This is your power. You are not afraid of conflict, not afraid of challenge, not afraid of the friction that comes from pressing against resistance. You know that diamonds are formed under pressure, that muscles grow from tearing, that transformation requires force. People feel your intensity before you speak. Your presence carries the heat of someone who has refused to be tamed, diminished, or told that their fire is too much. You inspire action in others because you are living proof that it is possible to burn without apology. You do not accept the world as it is given to you. You reshape it, you challenge it. You fight for what you believe in with a ferocity that terrifies those who have learned to accept defeat as wisdom. But Mars carries a shadow that most warriors never see. Because when you are always in motion, you forget how to rest. When you are always fighting, you forget what you are fighting for. The battle becomes your identity. The struggle becomes your comfort. And real peace becomes the enemy you cannot name. You equate stillness with weakness, rest with surrender. And so you keep pushing, keep proving, keep burning, even when there is nothing left to fuel the fire but yourself. You leave behind relationships because they require softness you have not practiced. You abandon projects once the initial thrill fades. You move from battle to battle, never pausing long enough to notice that you are exhausted, that your armor has become so heavy you can barely move beneath its weight. And here is the cost. You become so identified with the warrior that you forget you are also human, so focused on what you are fighting against that you lose sight of what you are fighting for. Watts would remind you that the river does not fight the current, it is the current. Mars has taught you how to move with force. Now it is teaching you how to move with purpose. To distinguish between action that creates and action that destroys. Between fire that illuminates and fire that consumes. You are learning this. That true strength is not about how hard you can push. It is about knowing when to push and when to yield. When to fight and when to lay down your weapons and simply be. The warrior's final battle is not against an external enemy. It is against the part of you that believes you are only valuable when you are at war, that you only matter when you are overcoming something. Mars is teaching you now that you do not need to be in constant motion to be powerful. That stillness is not the absence of strength, it is strength that has stopped needing to prove itself. If you chose Mars, you carry the fire that refuses to die. You do not need to soften your intensity to belong. You only need to learn that the greatest battles are the ones you choose not to fight. Your true self is not the warrior. It is the life force that makes the fighting possible. The energy that existed before the battle and will remain after the war is one. And when you finally learn to carry your fire without letting it consume you, you will discover that you were never fighting to prove your strength. You were fighting to remember your right to rest, if Saturn called to you. You understand that limitations are not punishments. They are the shape freedom takes when it wants to create something real. You do not run from difficulty. You do not avoid responsibility. You have learned what most refuse to accept, that discipline is not restriction, but liberation. That boundaries are not walls, but the framework within which meaning becomes possible. This is your wisdom. You know that nothing valuable comes without time, without patience, without the slow, deliberate process of building something that lasts. Where others seek shortcuts, you commit to the long path. Where others chase instant gratification, you plant seeds, knowing you may not see the harvest for years. People respect your consistency, your integrity, your refusal to compromise on what matters, simply because it is difficult. You are the person who keeps promises, who finishes what they start, who remains standing when everyone else has given up. You are Saturn the Elder, who has earned authority, not through force, but through endurance, through showing up, through doing the work no one else wanted to do. But Saturn carries a weight that can become unbearable, because when you are always responsible, you forget how to surrender. When you are always the strong one, you forget how to ask for help. You take on the burdens others refuse to carry, and you do it so gracefully that no one realizes how heavy it has become. You have built your life on discipline, on structure, on doing what needs to be done regardless of how you feel. And this has made you strong, but it has also made you rigid, afraid of anything that cannot be controlled, terrified of the chaos that lives just beyond the edges of your carefully constructed order. You judge yourself mercilessly for any weakness, any failure, any moment when you are not enough, and that judgment has turned you into a prison guard, watching your own life from behind the bars of should, and must, and have to. Watts would ask you, who taught you that love must be earned through suffering? That rest is only permissible after you have exhausted yourself? That joy is a reward for discipline, rather than the reason for living? Watts spoke often of the futility of trying to hold water by clenching your fist. Saturn has taught you how to build, how to endure, how to create structures that withstand time. But what it has not yet taught you is that the strongest structures are the ones with space, with flexibility, with room for the chaos you have been trying so hard to control. You are learning this now, that discipline without spontaneity becomes rigidity, that responsibility without play becomes burden, that wisdom without wonder becomes mere knowledge, correct but lifeless. The rings of Saturn are not solid. They are made of countless particles, held together not by force, but by the invisible dance of gravity and momentum. They appear stable from a distance, but up close, they are always moving, always shifting, always in flux. This is your teaching, to remain committed without becoming calcified, to hold your values without hardening around them, to be responsible without sacrificing the part of you that is still learning how to be free. If you chose Saturn, you have earned the wisdom that comes from discipline. You do not need to abandon structure to experience freedom. You only need to remember that the greatest discipline is knowing when to let go. Your true self is not the structure. It is the awareness that builds structures and watches them crumble without ever being diminished. And when you finally allow yourself to rest without earning it, to play without justifying it, to be human instead of perfect, you will discover that you were never carrying the weight of the world. You were only carrying the belief that you had to. If Jupiter called to you, you believe in more. Not more things, not more possessions, but more possibility, more beauty, more meaning, more life than the small, safe version everyone else seems willing to settle for. You are drawn to expansion, to growth, to the exhilarating vertigo of standing at the edge of something vast and saying yes before you know how. This is your nature. You do not do anything halfway. When you love completely. When you commit fully. When you dream so big that others call you naive, unrealistic, foolish, and you do not care. Because you have tasted the bigness and you cannot go back to small. You inspire others to reach higher, to risk more, to believe that the impossible is only impossible until someone refuses to accept that limitation. Your presence makes rooms feel larger. Your vision makes futures feel brighter. You are living proof that expansion is not about having more, it is about being willing to hold more. People are drawn to your optimism, your faith, your unshakable belief that life is meant to be abundant, beautiful, and filled with experiences that take your breath away. But Jupiter has a shadow that hides behind its brightness. Because when everything is big, nothing is deep. When you are always reaching for more, you never arrive at enough. You expand and expand and expand until you are stretched so thin that there is nothing left. At the center, just space, just void, just the aching absence of something solid to hold on to. You chase experiences but never integrate them. You start projects but rarely finish them. You make promises with genuine intention and then forget them the moment a newer, shinier possibility appears. Not because you are dishonest, but because you are so intoxicated by potential that you forget to honor what is actual. And here is the cost. People stop trusting your words, not because they doubt your sincerity, but because they have learned that your enthusiasm is not the same as commitment, that your vision is not the same as follow-through, that your bigness, while inspiring, is also exhausting. Watts would remind you that the seed does not become a tree by expanding in all directions at once. It becomes a tree by growing deep before it grows wide. Watts once said that the only thing that ultimately matters is this moment, now. Jupiter has taught you to dream big, to reach far, to believe in possibility. But what it has not yet taught you is that expansion without integration is just distraction. That more without depth is just noise. You are learning this, that true abundance is not about how much you can hold. It is about how fully you can be present to what is already here. That the richest life is not the one that has seen everything, but the one that has truly seen something. The great red spot on Jupiter has been raging for over 300 years. Storm so massive it could swallow Earth whole. And yet, for all its size, it goes nowhere. It simply is. Vast, powerful, present. This is your teaching. To let your bigness serve your depth, rather than replace it. To expand not by adding more, but by bringing your full presence to less. To trust that you do not need to experience everything to live fully. You only need to fully experience what you choose. If you chose Jupiter, you carry the faith that life is limitless. You do not need to shrink your dreams to fit someone else's reality. You only need to learn that the deepest expansion happens when you stop running toward more and start sinking into now. Your true self is not the expansion. It is the space in which all expansion happens. The awareness that can hold the vastness without being lost in it. And when you finally allow yourself to be as deep as you are wide, you will discover that you never needed more. You only needed to be fully present to what you already had. If Venus called to you, you know that beauty is not decoration, it is truth made visible. You see the world through the lens of connection, of harmony, of the invisible threads that bind one thing to another. Where others see separation, you see relationship. Where others see difference, you see complementarity. You understand that nothing exists in isolation, that everything is always in conversation with everything else. This is your gift. You create beauty, not by adding, but by revealing what was always there. You bring people together. You find common ground where others see only division. You remind the world that it is possible to disagree without disconnecting, to be different without being separate. You are drawn to aesthetics, not because you are shallow, but because you understand that how something looks, sounds, feels. These are not superficial concerns. They are the language through which the soul speaks. Beauty is not a luxury. It is a necessity. It is oxygen for the spirit. People feel safe in your presence because you do not demand that they be anything other than what they are. You offer acceptance, warmth, the gentle reminder that they are worthy of love, not because of what they do, but simply because they exist. But Venus carries a shadow that is easy to overlook, because when harmony becomes your highest value, you learn to silence your own discord. When peace is the goal, you avoid conflict, even when conflict is necessary. You smooth over problems instead of solving them. You keep the surface beautiful, while the foundation crumbles beneath. You have learned to make yourself pleasing, to soften your edges, to hide your needs, so you do not disturb the harmony you have worked so hard to create. And in doing so, you lose yourself, not dramatically, not all at once, but slowly, imperceptibly, until one day you wake up and realize you do not know who you are beneath the role you have been playing. You fear rejection more than you fear self-abandonment. You fear being alone more than you fear being invisible. And so you stay in relationships that no longer serve you. You give to people who do not give back. You create beauty for everyone except yourself. Watts would ask you, what is the point of harmony if you are not included in it? What good is love if you are not one of the people being loved? Watts taught that the game is not to get rid of the ego, but to recognize that the ego is just a role you are playing. Venus has taught you how to love, how to connect, how to create beauty and harmony. But what it has not yet taught you is that real love includes conflict. Real beauty includes imperfection. Real harmony is not the absence of discord, it is the integration of discord into a larger wholeness. You are learning this now, that you do not need to abandon yourself to be loved. That the people worth keeping are the ones who want you whole, not just the beautiful parts. That true connection is not about being pleasing, it is about being real. Venus is not just the planet of love, it is the planet of value. And the question it asks is not how can I make others love me, but do I love myself enough to show up as I am? The atmosphere of Venus is so thick with clouds that the surface cannot be seen. But beneath those clouds, the surface is molten, active, alive, and it does not apologize for the heat it carries. If you chose Venus, you know that love is the force that holds the universe together. You do not need to make yourself smaller to create harmony. You only need to remember that you are part of the harmony you are trying to create. Your true self is not the lover, it is the love itself, the force that connects without clinging, that holds without controlling, that sees beauty without needing to possess it. And when you finally allow yourself to be loved as fully as you love, you will discover that you were never meant to sacrifice yourself for connection. You were meant to bring yourself fully into it. If Earth called to you, you are the one who remembers that you are not visiting this world. You are made of it. You do not seek transcendence. You seek presence. You do not try to escape the body. You inhabit it. You understand that enlightenment is not about rising above the material world, but about finally, fully arriving in it. This is your wisdom. You know that the spiritual and the physical are not separate. That the sacred is not found by leaving the earth, but by sinking more deeply into it. You find God in the garden, truth in the texture of wood, peace in the weight of your own feet on solid ground. Where others chase the cosmic, you tend the local. Where others seek the infinite, you honor the finite. You do not need to go anywhere to find yourself, because you know that you are already here. That this body, this moment, this planet, this is not a stopping point on the way to somewhere better. This is it. This is the destination. People feel grounded in your presence because you are not trying to be anything other than what you are. You are not performing enlightenment. You are not chasing transformation. You are simply here. And that here-ness is the most revolutionary thing you could offer. But Earth carries a trap that is difficult to see. Because when you are so committed to presence, you can become resistant to change. When you are so rooted, you can become stuck. You confuse stability with stagnation. You mistake acceptance for resignation. And you stop growing because you have convinced yourself that growth means leaving, and you have committed to staying. You tell yourself you are being present, but what you are really doing is protecting yourself from the discomfort of transformation. You cling to what is because the unknown terrifies you. You stay in jobs, relationships, identities that no longer fit because at least they are familiar. And here is the cost. You become so focused on being grounded that you forget how to reach, so committed to the earth that you forget you are also made of sky, so identified with your body that you forget you are also awareness moving through it. Watts would remind you that the earth itself is not still. It is spinning, orbiting, moving through space at thousands of miles per hour. And yet, from the surface, it feels perfectly still. Watts once said that the only Zen you find on the tops of mountains is the Zen you bring up there. Earth has taught you how to be here, how to be present, how to honor the body and the moment. But what it is teaching you now is that presence is not a location. it is a quality of awareness. And that awareness can be present even as everything changes around it. You are learning this, that you can be rooted and still grow. That you can honor where you are and still reach toward where you are becoming. That being embodied does not mean being limited, it means being fully alive. The earth is not separate from the universe. It is the universe in a particular form, and you are not separate from the earth. You are the earth becoming aware of itself, and that awareness is not confined to this body, this moment, this planet. It is infinite, expressing itself through the finite. This is your teaching, to remain grounded while remembering that you are also vast, to honor the body while recognizing that you are more than body, to be fully here while trusting that here includes everything. If you chose Earth, you know that the sacred is not somewhere else. You do not need to transcend the world to find meaning. You only need to be fully present to the world you are already in. Your true self is not the body. It is the awareness that experiences the body. The consciousness that knows what it feels like to have weight, temperature, breath. And when you finally allow yourself to be both grounded and free, rooted and reaching, you will discover that you were never trapped by the earth. You were only ever held by it. Planets do not question their nature. Mars does not apologize for its heat. Saturn does not apologize for its rings. Jupiter does not apologize for its size. Venus does not apologize for its beauty. Earth does not apologize for being inhabited. Carl Jung understood that we project onto symbols what we cannot yet see in ourselves. The planet you chose is not revealing who you are, it is revealing what you are learning to integrate. Mars teaches the warrior to rest. Saturn teaches the teacher to play. Jupiter teaches the expander to deepen. Venus teaches the lover to include themselves. Earth teaches the embodied to remember they are also infinite. But Alan Watts would say this: you are not Mars or Saturn or Jupiter or Venus or Earth. You are the space in which all planets orbit. The awareness that can take any form without being limited to any form. The planets are just mirrors. Different angles of the same light. Different expressions of the same source. And that source is not out there in the cosmos. It is here, in you as you. The test was never about which planet you chose. It was about recognizing that you contain all of them. That you are not a single orbit, but the gravity that makes all orbits possible. So what now? Perhaps you saw yourself in the planet you chose. Perhaps you recognized the lesson you are currently learning. Perhaps you felt uncomfortable because the planet revealed something you were not ready to face. All of this is as it should be, because you are not here to find a fixed identity. You are here to notice where you are in the orbit, what you are learning, what you are integrating, and all of it is temporary. All of it is changing. Today you chose one planet. Tomorrow you may be drawn to another. Not because you were wrong, but because you have completed one lesson and moved to the next. Because the universe is not static, and neither are you. Do not make the planet your new label. Do not use it as another way to explain yourself or justify your patterns. Let it show you something, and then let it go. Because the truth is, you are not Mars, not Saturn, not Jupiter, not Venus, not Earth. You are the awareness in which all planets appear. The consciousness that can take any orbit without being confined to any path. And that awareness, boundless and free, is the only self you need to know. Alan Watts once said, "We do not come into this world, we come out of it, like leaves from a tree." Today, you looked at 5 planets and chose one. But the choosing was not the point. The point was to remember that you are not separate from the cosmos. You are not a visitor here. You are an expression of it. The planet revealed where you are in your orbit, what lesson you are learning, what integration you are working toward. But it cannot define what you are, because what you are is indefinable. So orbit like Mars, build like Saturn, expand like Jupiter, love like Venus, ground like Earth. But never forget, you are not the planet. You are the space in which all planets move. And that space, infinite and unchanging, has been here since the beginning and will remain long after the last planet dissolves back into stardust. If something in this reflection resonated with you, If you recognized yourself in the planet you chose, we invite you to share it in the comments below. Not to prove anything, not to explain yourself, but simply to witness and be witnessed by others who are also learning to see their place in the cosmos. Each comment is an orbit. Each share is a gravitational pull. And together we create the solar system where all of us are learning to be both individual and interconnected. There are more reflections waiting, more symbols, more invitations to remember that you are not a small, separate thing. You are the entire universe expressing itself through a temporary form. Stay, not because you need to, but because something in you recognizes this as home. And until we meet again, remember this: you are not the planet. You are the gravity that holds all worlds together. And that force cannot be seen, cannot be measured. But without it, nothing would exist at all. See you in the next reflection.